Iran and the Mullah regime is not the same as attacking the Ba'athist regime, not the least of which is that the Mullah regime has spent the past 40 years both strategically hardening and dispersing its primary centers of gravity. So ballistic missile sites, aircraft, like hardened underground airports, C4SR, like nuclear and WMD production and storage facilities, etc. The target set is far broader and deeper. That's constantly a moving target and evolving, not the least of which is material support being provided to the Mullah regime vis-a-vis Putin's criminalized counterintelligence state, the Chinese Communist Party, North Korean regime, and elements out of Pakistan. That said, that's why we're placing more and more assets in the region to be able to service that increasing target set. There's also other coterminously, there's other lines of effort the Mullah regime's pursuing, not the least of which is increasing its ballistic missile production capability. Their target is to increase it to 300 solid fueled, medium, and intermediate range ballistic missiles within a couple of months. Israel is rightly getting very, very twitchy, which is why, almost assuredly, without me saying, in any definitive manner, why Bibi and President Trump has bumped up their meeting this week regarding these issues. So we can definitely service the targets. The issue is, how do we do that? Both sides are trying to position themselves where they can give the other side a knockout blow, or with regards to us. And the Mullah regime's trying to position itself where it can have a retaliatory capability that would make striking unsustainable or desirable. The point, though, being, and this is why Senator, now Secretary of State Rubio, very much rightly, consistently reiterates, along with Bibi, the Mullah regime is never going to give up its pursuit of nuclear weapons or WMD capability. They have to go. Even if they say, well, we do not want we will not do it ourselves. Who's to stop anybody else just giving them turnkey systems? Who's to stop them from just sitting there and assisting the Mullah regime to produce that stuff outside of Iran? I mean, like, the list is endless. They have to go. That said, there's devils in that detail, right?
So, Amy, I want to actually talk about the size of Iran as well, because my understanding is that traditionally that makes things difficult for your enemies, but in modern warfare it might actually make it easier for them, right? Especially for a country like Israel, the bigger you are, the more area you have to defend, right? So remember, like, traditionally, if you wanted to attack a country, like the state in a country, you would have to basically go across the borders, and if they had mountains and everything, it makes it difficult to pass and all of that, and there's a lot of barriers and there's a lot of areas to cover. But now, for example, in the 12-day war, like Israel, when they attacked the Islamic Republic, they didn't even go through the Islamic Republic soldiers. They just went right where their commanders were sleeping. Traditionally in war, the commanders are the last people who die. There's a lot of soldiers in your way that you have to go through before you manage to get into one commander, right? But like in the 12-day war, most of the soldiers were spared, and the commanders were the ones who first to go first, right? And you have a lot of airspace. Like, for example, if you're Israel, if you buy, I don't know, a Patriot system or a THAAD system, you cover the entire country. But if you're Iran, if you're ruling over Iran, then how many like Russian S-400s you need to buy, right, to be able to cover all that airspace? Like, that's really difficult. Like, you basically, there's a lot of areas where your enemies' planes could just basically flying as if it's just their own airspace without any worry. Also, there's so many spies you could have around the country. Like, how could the Islamic Republic basically monitor the entire, like, there's a lot of Mossad agents, there's a lot of commando units, like special operations soldiers in different parts. Like, you have so many places, so many big borders that they could just drop in their own special units in, and you can't monitor all that border. You can't basically look for Mossad agents everywhere in your country. They could just be living there for years without you ever finding them, right? So it introduces a lot of challenges for the Islamic Republic as well. So I mean, it does introduce a lot of challenges for attacking when you want to do a full-on head-to-head confrontational war. But again, even if United States wanted to do something like that, they could basically do like they could start with like a 12-day war style Israeli attack for the first week before they even do anything that the geographical area of Iran will become a challenge, like make like anything that makes the geographical area of Iran a challenge for the United States will become less of an issue once you do all of the aerial operations before you do anything on the ground. And United States will be it seemed like United States wouldn't be doing much operations on the ground anyways, and even if they do, it will be limited and probably limited to the nuclear sites. Given that most of it is just going to be bombardment from the air, the only thing geographically challenging is being able to have air bases close to Iran's borders, right? That's the only thing that matters. That's why we're constantly talking about USS Abraham Lincoln, carrier strike group in the region. That's why we're talking about whether Saudi Arabia, Qatar, UAE are not going to be allowing their airspaces to be used, and Jordan is allowing it to be used in this attack. That is the main thing you need to worry about. But as long as you are close enough to have access to their airspace using your fighter jets, then everything else is basically not that difficult, especially for US military. The challenge, the way I think you should be looking at this upcoming war is that for United States and Israel, hitting whatever they want inside Iran is not a challenge. Like it's pretty straightforward. They know how to do it, and the size of Iran is not going to stop them, right? The main challenge of this war is defending US interests in the region when the Islamic Republic wants to respond with their ballistic missiles. Some of their ballistic missiles are hard to intercept. The cruise missiles are easy to intercept. Their drones are really easy to intercept. Some of their ballistic missiles are easy to intercept, but there are some of them that are fast. Those are harder to intercept. And I don't know how many of those they have. There are different estimates, but those are the ones that you need to look out for. That's the reason why if the war is inevitable, is taking this long, is the idea of we need to protect Israel, we need to protect the UAE, we need to protect Qatar, we need to protect Saudi Arabia, we need to protect Jordan, we need to make sure not a single missile drops on any of their cities. That is the thing that is challenging, and also more important than everything for the United States, we need to make sure not a single American soldier dies, right? That is the highest priority. So to prepare for all of that, that is the challenge. But hitting targets inside Iran, easy for Israel, easy for the United States. Jeffrey, did you want to comment on that?
Absolutely. So you touched on a lot of key issues and you bullseyeing a lot of them, everyone that you mentioned. I'm going to add to that. It's very true. If we want to, it's the United States and or Israel can very much hold at risk and destroy probably any target we want to, or at least put steel on target. Some of them are hardened underground, which means you have to dig with bombs. We can still do that. Um, as far as Armin was right, the idea is to a successful decapitive strike would have success defined as fully suppressing, or at least to the degree that is acceptable, suppressing Mullah retaliatory capability. And that's why he talked about taking out missile launchers or tells. That's also why Israel went after the launchers, right? Because if you destroy the launchers, it doesn't matter if you have 1,000 underground, you can't launch them, right? You have nothing to launch them from. The other thing is making sure we harden critical infrastructure within our allied states in the area from proxies like Houthis and Hezbollah targeting them. That's why Israel did the shaping exercise they did when they took out the Hezbollah leadership with their beeper campaign. That's one of the reasons they did that. So, I mean, I'm going to have one last constraint, and that's one that Pete Hegseth right now is in the process of very much correcting, which is ensure it's the overall amount of long range munitions and defensive missiles, our overall stockpile in defensive interceptors and long range strike munitions vis-a-vis other threats posed in other theaters. So the Chinese hitting Taiwan or Putin hitting Europe, and they're all coordinating each other. We're in the process of fixing that. And that's why we're moving other assets that allows to take some of the pressure off of those long range strike munitions, like Tomahawks. When he named the reason why we people talk about the aircraft carriers, because aircraft carriers allow you to maintain sustained operations, whereas like Tomahawk laden submarines, they give you one hell of an initial punch. Like if you have all four, you talk about launching like almost 500 Tomahawk missiles in less than 6 minutes, and that means 600 targets are going to have a 500 targets going to have a really bad day. They're going to have a real bad day.
Okay, to fix apparently what my brain just took over earlier, I want to learn more curse words. That's apparently not at all what
Ah.
LF asked. She would like to know if we could have a video or some sort of training for the words that are in the chants, commonly used chants.
Oh, okay, okay,
A lot
okay.
of sense too, and I
So,
also like that, but maybe part two curse words.
okay. Well, I mean, we could do one chant every day. I mean, we know. Do we know the main ones? Like Malik Bar dictator is death to the dictator. Malik Bar Khamenei is death to Khamenei. Malik Bar Jamhuri Islami is death to the Islamic Republic. Javid Shah is long live the king. این آخرین نبرد پهلوی برمیگرده is this is the final battle. Pahlavi will return. So these are the main ones. Let me know if you want to know more. Were these the ones that you already knew, or were these was what you were asking for?
I think probably just she wanted an overall for some of the main ones that are like happening in the rallies and things.
Right.
I don't
So
have many of them memorized.
one more is Marg bar Sefa said Mullah Chapi Mujahid, which means death to the three corruptions, the Mullahs, the leftists, and the MEK. So that's a famous one as well. Yeah.
Okay, next we have Adam.
I saw a post about a son of Hamas who we were talking about yesterday, and I realized I don't really know what I'm reading. And I thought, oh, wait, I'm in school. I can ask a question again. I put a link. Who is Fuzul Mahala? Is that a person or a news outlet? Because it's written like it's a
I
single. Here,
w- w-
let me share this image if you can approve the screen share. And
okay. Let me allow screen sharing.
oh, let me try. Because to be fair, this person isn't really saying enough. They're just saying like, "Can't we all get along?" But they're screenshotting Goldie and saying, "Oh, why
Can
can't we all get
can you give us
along?"
some context for people before you
Yeah,
ask this? Because some people might not know what you're talking about. Yeah.
yeah. So son of
So
Hamas, who many of us have seen on Piers Morgan, maybe, who was originally. You were saying yesterday that you guys were trusting him, but now you're not so sure. But this post doesn't even say anything about.
so you're talking about Musab, which I never trusted, by the way.
Oh, right. You said you always thought that he was not very clever and that people liked him.
Retarded. The word I used was retarded.
This is the anyway, I'll just read this really quick then. What does it say? It says, "This is a message not just to those who follow me and have personally reached out to me, but directly to Goldie Gamari and Masab Hassan Yusuf." Now, I don't know who this is. It looks like a news outlet, a person. It says, I respect you both immensely. I believe you both love Iran and want what is best for the Iranian people. That shared intention matters more than any single disagreement. I disagree with Goldie's view of Mossad, and I also disagree with Mossab's view of Pahlavi. Disagreement should not mean erasure, and it should not mean turning on whatever, blah, blah, blah. I mean, I think I know what her answer is going to be to this, but Reza Pahlavi has never sought to return to Iran as Shah. He lives a good life in the U.S. and does not need power, status, or risk. His position is clear. If he returns, it would be as an interim figure to help stabilize Iran after this regime collapses and then step aside for a democratic process chosen by the people. Whilst this is a hugely simplified summary, I believe him, and the past is the past. I also know Goldie's respect for Reza runs deep. My own father shared that respect and was in contact with Reza before my father passed. These bonds are not superficial, they come from genuine concern for Iran's future. As for Masab, and this is where I don't really know what's going on much, even when he says what he says is painful or difficult to hear, I do not believe canceling him serves the cause. He has been a force for good, and movements that destroy their own voices over disagreement inevitably weaken themselves. The real enemy is the regime, not each other. A united house shall stand, divided one shall fall. And He just basically says we all need to get along, but he doesn't actually address the substance of anything. Like for a guy who says he doesn't want to cancel him, he's not addressing what he's saying either. So it's a bit of a funny
Yeah,
move.
so
To,
this person who
he's being
posted this
facile.
is also this person who posted this is also retarded because he started by saying that Mossad, son of Hamas, he knows that he loves Iran. But if he actually did half a minute of research, he would realize that even before he was posting against Pahlavi, he was posting against Iranian people as a whole. So he doesn't love Iran. He hates Iranian people. So where is he getting that from? That he loves Iran?
Yeah, good. I just thought you could comment further on it, so I'll let you take from here, fill us in
Yeah.
about.
I think he's just jealous of Iranians because like it's pretty unique. Like people find it like, oh my god, look, an Arab who's pro-Israeli, who's anti-Hamas, how interesting. Wow. Okay, but that's not very interesting when you when you like, I think it just loses its interest when you have millions of Iranians from the Middle East being this aggressively anti-Islamic. So it just loses, like having an Arab person saying, "Oh, Islam is bad." Sometimes people in the West like, "Wow, so cool. We haven't seen that before." But then if you have millions and millions of people from the Middle East coming out and saying, "I shit on Islam. I shit on every page of the Quran," then that is not a very right. Then your position of being anti-Hamas and anti-Islam is not very interesting anymore because it's just very common. Like that view is coming from the Middle East. So I think he feels threatened by the Iranians' anti-Islamic position, pro-Israeli, anti-Islamic position, right? So he's just trying to dismiss them as not important so that he maintains his. He wants to be the special boy. He wants to be like, he's basically saying, Israelis, pick me, forget these Iranians, pick me. Like I'm the proper Middle Eastern.
Let's say that's him. Let's say that's him, and then what I don't know about is what's this separatist movement that he's hitching himself onto? Because I'm sure it has its own separate story.
If I had to guess, he just realized that Iranians hate separatists. So he was like, oh, this is what you hate. So I'm just going to jump on this. I think that's why he's supporting that. It's noticing how
Mm.
sensitive Iranians are against like separatists. But again, like it's really, so that's why I think Mossad is supporting the Kurdish separatists. But again, remember, most Iranian Kurds do not support the separatists. One, they're very patriotic and they support Iran's border integrity. That's one. Two, I just want to use this as a way to remind any Israelis that might be listening to this at some point that supporting Kurdish separatists is not in the interest of Israel, because separatism will basically cause more internal fighting in four different countries, and the chaos in the region is basically a perfect situation for more terrorist groups to grow. Every time we have a state becoming unstable, that is exactly where groups like ISIS or Al Qaeda or Jihad Islami or these other groups grow using instability. So supporting any movement that is challenging the border integrity of not just one, not two, but four different countries of Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey is basically a perfect way to get to a point where the Middle East is producing more groups like Hamas, more groups like Hezbollah, which eventually is going to cause more chaos in Israel. Israel, this is why I always believe that Israel doesn't want war. People keep accusing Israel of being warmongering. I think Israel is more than any country in the Middle East. Israel wants peace in the Middle East. A country that is being is its existence is being challenged constantly is more interested in peace than any other country, because other countries when they go into war, it's their border integrity or some of their civilians who are being challenged. But when Israel goes to war, its entire existence is being challenged. This is why it's always in the best interest of Israel to try to eliminate sources of war. And that's why it's in the best interest of Israel to get a stable Middle East. And the best way to get a stable Middle East is to have other partners and other strong countries as allies of the Middle East. So having Iran as a stable country, an ally of the Israel, is the best way to bring stability. Having Iran and Israel working with each other to stabilize the region is the best way to bring security to Israel. Oh, thank you,
Thanks. That
Jeffrey
clears up
approves.
a fair
Thank you, Adam. Good question.
Jeffrey, did you want to still touch on that, or was your thumbs up?
Kurdistan thing, I was just going to say that, having, where was it? I put it up here. I was going to ask, I wanted Armin if you could speak on this, because this seems to be a recurring issue that's being leveraged by the Mullah regime and or their supporters to try and fragment solidarity and continuity mission message and effort amongst the anti-Mullah pro-Iranian protester diaspora. It seems that there's some opportunistic thinking of certain actors that the fall of the mullahs equals like an opportunity to carve up Iran. That's not a good idea. Can you elaborate more on some of those opportunistic, those actors that are engaging that opportunism and why it is they might be doing that?
Well, it makes sense why they think this is their chance, right? Because they've been dreaming about having an independent state for many, many years. And if having them, they think that if the mullahs fall, there's going to be a period where there's no state, right, inside Iran. So that would be a window of opportunity for them to be able to achieve their dream coming true. So it makes sense why they're thinking that. One thing that I want to add to that is how one other reason why that's ridiculous, though, is that they can't agree on their borders, right? So, for example, in Iran, more than Kurdish separatists, you need to be worried about so-called Turkish separatists, right? And the Turkish separatist area that they want, basically, a lot of it is the same areas that the Kurdish think should be part of an independent Kurdistan, right? So a lot of analysts will guarantee that if even we get to a place where the Turkish separatists and the Kurdish separatists are getting close to their dream, you're going to see a bloodbath between Turkish separatist groups and Kurdish separatist group because of the overlap on the areas that they want, right? Not only that, you're going to also see a lot of a bloodbath between different Kurdish separatist groups, because a lot of people talk about Kurdish separatist groups as if they're one people and they're all united to have like an independent Kurdistan. They hate each other and they constantly are attacking each other over leadership. So this is going to be a hot mess. Like this is going to be like, oh guys, yeah, let's allow the Kurdish separatists to have their Kurdistan. Not only they're going to be fighting against four country states, they're going to be fighting against the Turks, and they're going to, more importantly, be fighting against each other for decades to come. Here's another thing: the Kurdish separatists that in Iran, the number one people they have managed to kill is Kurdish people. Like the number one people that the Kurdish separatist armed forces that they have killed in Iran is other Kurds. I don't know if does that even answer your question?
Close. I got the opportunistic part. Can you speak on the underlying motives behind why they want that separatism and the reason that's operationally significant is what is the chance of, say, anti, like pro Mullah regime elements using intra Kurdish separatist conflicts to cause insecurity flows, either to undermine our efforts, the anti Mullah Persian protesters' ability to take down the mullahs or to destabilize Iran after Mullah regime is taken down during His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi's transitionary period? And what can we do to
But I didn't
maybe
understand the second question. Can you?
so like let's okay, so the Mullah regime comes down. His Highness
Yeah,
Prince Reza Pahlavi comes in as a transitionary government, right?
yeah.
Transitionary period. Is there things in place that we can implement to ensure that other pro Mullah
Mm.
actors after the Mullah falls stir up aggravation and conflict between different Kurdish separatists with the idea of having some of those insecurity flows spill over into Iran to try and destabilize Iran during its transitionary period?
Is there anything we could do to basically stop that or limit that? But that's what you're saying. Okay. Yeah. All right. So First of all, the reason why some of them want to do it is because this is their bread and butter, right? Because they get paid for doing this. This is the movement that they belong to. This is their identity. And they don't know anything else. Like this is like these are like, I mean, why do we have like ISIS terrorists, right? This is their identity, right? A lot of them are commies, by the way, if you go like the Kurdish separatists, and they're basically against all forms of, governments, modern, nation states. They consider like they want to make their own commie utopia, like Rajava or something like that. So they would probably be more anti-Pahlavi that they're even anti-Mullah, right? Because they would see the Pahlavi as an extension of imperialism and capitalism and all that stuff, right? So some of them are like that. Their motivations vary. Some people suggest that because they're oppressed, and like, but who is not oppressed inside Iran? Like, right? So, like, the whole country is oppressed. Like, there's that. But okay, so regarding one thing I want to mention is that they're actually the Islamic Republic likes them. A lot of people think the Islamic Republic is against the separatists, but the Islamic Republic benefits a lot from separatists, and I wouldn't be surprised if they're getting supported by the Islamic Republic, because the Islamic Republic's main narrative is that one of its main narratives has always been that even if you don't like me, I'm the only thing that is holding Iran together. The fear of separatism has been a major way that the Islamic Republic has been ruling. When regards to what plans Prince Reza Pahlavi would have during the transition period. I mean, if you look at their plans, they talk about cooperating with the other people in the region, using the Artesh immediately to defend the borders, using high tech, drone technology and other technology to monitor borders. I do think that many Kurdish people and Azeri people themselves would be like signing up to defend the borders. So we, like, for example, with our Kurdish separatists, we have so many Kurds who are patriotic and would want to defend Iran's borders, that I think we're not going to have a shortage of people volunteering to defend the borders. I'm not saying that there's not going to be any challenge, but I'm saying people in that atmosphere, I think there's so much excitement for a new Iran, and people are going to be feeling so patriotic that if Prince Reza Pahlavi pulls a call to action for people, Iranians, to come volunteer and get trained and defend the borders, they're going to have waves of people showing up to answer that call. So that's something I'm assuming that will happen. When it comes to more detailed military strategies regarding defending the borders and stabilizing the country, I did ask Prince Reza Pahlavi's main advisor on my Persian show regarding that, and he did say that well, obviously that has been discussed, but a lot of that information cannot be shared. But it was reassuring to know that has been discussed on a high level. But he did tell me that, like, well, obviously a lot of this can't be shared. By the way, guys, I did have the honor of having Princess of Pahlavi's main advisor and the writer of the emergency plan as my guest on the Persian show. So I asked him a lot of questions there. That was by the way, that interview was like a big deal after it came out. So many people were referring to it. It was like, it made big waves. Oh, thank you, guys. Oh, people are saying in the chat. That's very kind. All right.
Okay, we have Susanna next, but before we move on, a quick question.
Yay.
If someone purchases the premium on school, does that payment go to school or does it help fund your program?
Our program. In fact, school is really good by taking. I just spend it on on basically growing this community, right? School is really good that it basically, compared to all other platforms, it takes very little. That's a really good thing about school. It's actually they take very, very little, like less than YouTube, less than Patreon, less than so many other platforms.
YouTube is so much, isn't it, like 30%?
Yeah, they take 30%.
See, okay, that was the hope, was that it goes to you. So that's great to hear. Okay, Susanna.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, I want to show off something that I think you will appreciate. Look at this protein Basque cheesecake my husband made. Look at this.
Wait,
The
you can
macros,
do
the
that?
macros are so good. And because I know you're a fit boy recovering from having a serious sweet tooth, I thought you would appreciate some protein
I am
cheesecake.
so jealous. I'm actually can you
I'll send you the recipe.
Oh my god, I didn't even know you could do that. Okay,
It's
yes,
not
please.
it's not even hard to make.
Really?
No, not at all.
Okay. Okay,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Can you actually post that somewhere that everybody?
Yeah, like I think you get like 30 to 40 grams of protein for like 300 calories.
Oh,
Yeah.
that's pretty